Today we have a very special guest in our TV9 network, Walk Talk with Max Zeumer. Who is Max Zeumer? He's the CEO of one of the last decade's innovation on mobility. Yes, I'm talking about the FlixBus. Welcome to Max to our TV9 network show.
Thank you very much.
So when the 2013 on beyond that, how your founders thought about integrating technology-based mobility?
So it was actually in 2013, there was a change here of the legislation. So the market was opened. Before that, the state railway had a monopoly on long-distance passenger transportation, including bus. But when 2013, this all of a sudden opened up and private players were allowed in the space. And of course, everybody knew about this. So a lot of big players tried it and a lot of startups. And the founders at the time had the vision that if you want to be successful in this against all the incumbents, against all the companies that have been doing this for ages, you have to bring a different angle. And that's why they said we have to do this tech first, we have to do this asset light, and we have to rethink completely how this business is run.
Just to a very common question with Spartan and everywhere, there's a quest of how the three startups come together. Are they friends, or what was the beginning of thought? The idea came of in a beer bar or coffee table in an evening, or a dream. What was the initiated the best idea to do it like this?
Yeah, they go back quite a long time. So Daniel, the CIO, and Andre, the CEO, they're old friends. They actually founded their first startup, I think, when they were still in school.
Great.
One being the CIO, the other one trying to make some business out of this. Yeah. And so they had a long history, and they always knew that they wanted to do something together. And Jochen and Andre knew themselves from the previous company, from BCG. And the three of them, they were actually looking for founding something. So they didn't have the idea and then said, we have to do this, but it was the other way around. They were looking for something and they were looking at all kinds of different possibilities. And then this one was the obvious one. They just knew about this liberalization happening and they knew that this was what they had to go for.
Great, but when this first, what's the first deal they striked?
I was actually, the biggest thing is, imagine you're three guys and you have some PowerPoint slides.
Yeah.
You go out there and tell everybody, look, this is a great business idea, but the only thing you have are these slides. So the first and most important thing was signing your first bus partner. Yeah. And this was, the major event when they found somebody that kind of believed in the story and believed particularly in the three guys and actually kind of went out and bought real buses and said, I'm going to run these, I'm going to make them your colors and run those for you.
Great, but I want to know what is first deal your founder struck?
Yeah, that was, amazing. It was actually in that time, the FlixBus was still blue. So they had their first blue bus on the street. And it was an amazing thing because this is when it kind of became from just, some slides and something on paper to actually seeing the first bus on the road.
Which city, I have a curiosity to know about, our viewers should know, but which is the first of the three great ideas? And from the school days, that's the important thing. Yeah. So a school kid can think about startup. And what was the first city, the first bus went to where? To who? Where?
The first line was Munich to Nuremberg. And Nuremberg is also, it's the hometown of the founder. So this was the first line they operated.
So great. Max, so you have just talked about how the three school kids have had vision and dream and reality today. What are the big buildings and worldwide Flix known? So what was when after the startup, the first Munich to Nuremberg, the journey starts? And how you evolve with your internationalization, global plans? What was, first you had started with Germany and then Europe, and what your founders and your management team got an idea, need to go to global? What thoughts provoked them, or triggered them rather, to have more international Flix as a brand?
Yeah, so those first 2 years when the market in Germany had opened were intense competition. As said, a lot of companies started their businesses and tried their luck. In the end, there was two startups, Mein Fernbus and FlixBus, that made the race, and that after 1.5 years were the ones that had built the biggest business. And then the Flix founders, they always thought very big and had this vision that they want to build this big business. They actually found money with a private equity firm, with our first big investor, General Atlantic, and they took over Mein Fernbus, the actually larger competitor. And then after that integration of mein Fernbus and FlixBus, the two successful big startups, the position in Germany was great. And then the obvious question was, what do we do next? And then I actually, I was interested in the business, and I had a very casual lunch with Andre and Jochen, so two of the founders, in a little pizza place around the old office, and they told me a little bit about the company and that they now wanted to grow this internationally. And it was a casual conversation. I found it interesting, but I didn't know a lot about it. And then at the end of the lunch, they said, "Okay, so are you interested? Do you want to do this with us and build the international business?" And I was like, I probably have to think about that. But like, I mean, I think a couple of days later, I said like, yeah, I want to do it. Like, let's do this. And so,
and the decision also very tough, because you are in a nice position on a good consulting firm worldwide, and then have a small startup. What do you also think about a little bit of your mind in the back of the mind to do something innovative with a startup to support?
Yeah, it was this opportunity was exactly what I was looking for. I wanted to have something that had a proof of concept already, but then just scale it and just drive it to new geographies. And this was perfectly in line with what I wanted to do. So for me, it was very exciting. But of course, you go from like a safe job with decent pay to like it's just these guys, and they say we have a great idea and we're going to take this global, and you have to trust them and go with it. So it was a big step, but I mean, I never for a second regretted doing it, because I mean, this was the most exciting journey that you could be a part of.
Max, don't you think you have some of your mind of doing startup? This is your some of your young days when you talk about. Definitely, there is your unconscious mind to do something, this kind of stuff, which is triggered to when they met your founders, and then you have take a big decision to a nice salary, decent job, and come to of course, big ideas, pursuing a big dreams. So, what was your mind from that point of time when you took the decision to quit this and come to a better journey?
Yeah, I think I always have this notion that I feel like sometimes you have to do brave moves, even if you don't know 100% what's going to happen. But I always feel like the most interesting things happen if you take a bold step and do something, even if it's not the safe next step, but just going out there and trying new things.
And then when after joining, what was your bold step to be next level for FlixBus?
I mean, when you look at the story, so we started a little bit opportunistically looking around. Like we had built the business in Germany, and then we looked at all the other markets around. We looked at France and at Italy, and then started the business where we could. And there was, after Germany was liberalized, France had also rumors that they were going to liberalize the French market, which was also closed. And at the time, Macron was still a minister under Hollande, and there's the Loi Macron, the Macron law that actually liberalized the bus market. And this we didn't know when it was going to happen, and we had this insecurity of whether it was going to happen in 2 months or 2 years. And then all of a sudden they told us the market is open now, and it was like it was crazy and very intense. And that, I think that was what made the early years so interesting, because it was a lot of we were taking opportunities, and we just wanted to be quick, and we failed as well, and that was all fine, but we just wanted to be quick, and we wanted to make sure that we're there. And this was, I mean, when you look at the time between 2015 and 2019, this was the story. We just went out there, tried everything, and tried to basically cover all of Europe as quickly as we could throughout those years.
What was when you have joined from your big consulting job and come here, what was you have tested success? What was first success you felt yourself to your decision was right?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And the difference to consulting is that, you really see whether your decision is right or wrong. And ultimately, we saw quickly that you hire teams, you hire great people, they start working. And then after like a few months or years, you see whether this actually works, whether you have passengers on your buses, and then finally also whether your lines and your business turns profitable. And when you see that you build something that really works, and you have real people using real buses, it's an amazing experience.
And you're talking about the green and also green mobility or something like that. When you and your founders clubbed together to talk about shaping a brand like green mobility, what was our mind when the idea came into mind? Is green mobility or sustainability mobility, something new to the world of automobile, not just automobile, you talk about the passenger vehicle.
Yeah,
actually. Very tough competitions.
Yeah. No, the story is interesting because when FlixBus started, the color was actually blue. So the buses were blue. And Mein Fernbus had started a little bit earlier than FlixBus in those very early days, and their color was green. So after the merger, this was like, I mean, it was one of the great things that after the acquisition of Mein Fernbus, we were able to use the green color. So we took the best of both worlds because Mein Fernbus it's a German word that you can't use internationally. So we picked Flix and FlixBus as the brands, but used the green color, which was amazing because it's so telling, and it's what we want to be externally, but also internally. Our employees love that they're working for a green cause, and the color is just a perfect symbol of that.
What you're talking about when they have implemented green, just not sake of a color, also the meaning for mobility or sustainability. What was our first implementation to execute when the bus service or mobility service? To what were the few things we initially introduced as a symbol of making the green mobility initiative?
The main thing is if you have buses that have typically something between 40 and 70 seats, and you try to have a good load factor so that the emissions per person are extremely low. And then from the beginning, we always made sure that the buses are very new, so that they're kind of by the latest emission standards, so that we make sure that we minimize the footprint. And then from the beginning, we offset our business travels, but we also give customers the opportunity within the booking to offset their trip, so that it's carbon neutral. And that was only the start. Of course, this is the early days, but today the ambition has to go towards net zero. And that's a super exciting journey. And we're kind of at the center of this, and we're part of this exciting story to really make this happen and move to net zero.
You have also ambition. You have a cooperation with Daimler. To what kind of cooperation you do for the make it a more or energy efficient or the more greener Daimler? You have a collaboration with them.
We have many different corporations now. We really want to test what's the best technology, what's the best alternative drivetrain technology. So we do a lot of different tests across different alternative drivetrains we use here in Europe. We look at LNG, we look at hydrogen, which is more the longer term. And then battery electric is, of course, very interesting. We have many interesting tests running. We have one in Portugal, one in Chile, one in UK, and we're getting closer to also launch something in India, because India for battery electric is leading globally. It's the most interesting. It kind of is the farthest ahead when it comes to building an ecosystem, building the infrastructure, and basically breaking this chicken and egg problem of, do you first build the infrastructure and then people use it, or do you first kind of get people to buy EV buses, but then kind of you have to build the infrastructure? And India is really doing a great job there right now.
Max, we're talking about internationalization. What was the first intercontinental international you did as a FlixBus apart from the European continent to other?
Yeah, the first one was the US. We had, again, this was one of the opportunities we took. We had a team member, our former MD in France, who was relocating to the US for personal reasons. And so we said, okay, let's take that opportunity and look at the US. And he was based in California and looked at it, talked to everybody in the industry. And then at some point we launched the business there. And it took us a little bit, but then it was quite successful on the West Coast. And then we went to the East Coast as well, expanded there, just got started. But then unfortunately, COVID came and kind of put a halt to travel overall.
When this intercon decision was taken, all your board members and founders knew, what was the challenging for you? Like you become again a starter?
Yeah, it's always a new basically startup from scratch. You bring a lot of experience. You've made a lot of mistakes that you're not going to make again, but you make new mistakes, and it's always like it looks very similar. Like green buses on the streets, but it's always very different. You always have to relearn. And what we learned over time is you shouldn't be arrogant. Like you have to, you cannot just say this worked in Germany, this worked in France, so we're going to do the same somewhere else. But you always have to understand how people are different, how bus partners are different, and be mindful about that. And that's something that we learned over time. And I mean, it's very important to be good at that and to understand the nuances.
How about the journey to Las Vegas to LA? And what was the reaction from the passengers? Because this is your best user experience. Yeah. Because you have worked with in Europe and different continent. In America is a little bit different from Europe too. Yeah. So what was how you felt their expectation about the German brand to be there, and how feel it? How was the reactions from their part?
It was great. I mean, the best feedback from customers is always if they keep coming back, and we wanted to have a simple experience, but also make it affordable and not have big terminals or anything that doesn't really matter to the trip. And we saw that people liked it. People liked that that it was green, it was different, it was kind of online first. And so we had a very different customer segment that was all of a sudden interested in taking an intercity bus than what was the norm in the US before.
After that, what was the growth path in US and South America?
So the US is a special story because we built the business and we had just gotten some good traction, and then came COVID, which was very tough days. We saw kind of everything we had built over the years before, from 2013 to 2019. Basically, like nothing was left. All the buses were grounded. You had just a few buses in Poland and Denmark still running. So those were tough
very
days.
Tough time.
And then over time we brought some of the networks back to life, and there was some mobility coming back. But for us then, we had the great opportunity to acquire Greyhound, which was something that, if you think back to 2013, you always had kind of the small startup from Germany, and then you had Greyhound, which was like,
amazing journey.
Like a crazy company.
Absolutely.
And being able to acquire them was, a once in a lifetime opportunity. And also the whole integration of, an older US company and then a German startup. And it was a fantastic journey, like on so many levels. And now this is great. Now we have these two brands, Greyhound and FlixBus, still in the US, and it's very complementary. We love how well it works because it's different customer groups that we're serving and also different parts of the country that we're serving. So that has been a huge step. And this was when, for the first time, we started as a German startup, then we were a European company, and this really put us on the map also in North America. So this was the first big step. Proof.
So
outside.
What was any anecdote or any special thing you reminds to cherish your decision to being consulting? Dive back again your story. And what was this is a European company or rather German startup to acquire a North American company, a big bus service company. And what was any anecdotes you feel or something like to share with that you felt proud, and any moments that really challenged that point of time? What was your feeling that point of time? It's a first journey from intercontinental FlixBus.
Yeah, in consulting, you put this on slides. You say like, this is how you do it. This is how you do internationalization. This is how you do post-merger integration. But this was the first time I was really in charge. Like, this was mine, and if it was really me, like either being successful or failing at this. And sometimes like you wake up at night and this kind of catches up with you, and you're like, okay, if this goes wrong, then like this is all on me. But then it all went well, and this is fantastic because then ultimately, it's never you alone. It's always a big team, but it's like kind of all of us here at Flix, and then now also Greyhound that made this work. And now we have this big presence in the US, and this has all been us. And it makes you super proud because it makes a big difference that it's really you doing this and being responsible for the results. It's a big difference compared to consulting.
Yeah, regarding now when you started successfully California to LA or Las Vegas to LA. So what was the next step, and how you now position yourself in American market and also Latin American market? What was now your vision and integrating the most stuff, and what is your plan to execute?
Yeah, we see the green brand and the green buses also always as bringing something fresh to the market. So we want to do things differently, and we want that kind of we recruit our team so that they have the spirit that they want to disrupt and change. And we also want we want the customers to also feel that it's a difference whether you take FlixBus or you take a bus company that has been around for the past 50 years. We want to make sure that we focus on a few things, but then get them really right, and just make sure that customers get what they really want. And I think this has been great, and it's also something that we use when we enter new markets. That we just want to we want to have this fresh green that disrupts the market and has a different feel to the customers.
How about the Brazil? Brazil is related to football and a lot of crazy stuff. And a German brand, how you felt Brazilian, how it looked the Brazilian market when you entered?
I mean, Brazil is very interesting. Unfortunately, it's not a fully liberalized market, so we cannot grow as quickly as we do in other markets. We've been welcomed very well. We have fantastic partners. Actually, the quality of taking buses in Brazil is very high. You have these fantastic big beds. They're like first class on an airplane. So the product is great, but we're a big fan of liberalized markets where we can have fair competition and just. Like in soccer, the best team should win.
Should be, absolutely.
And we love that. And
two footballing nations talk about the crazy stuff to do together. And what was when they have to, after the Americans, you did it, your expansion and all that, then what was your focus market when you have, after first intercontinental experience in American way? But then after America, what's your focus to do it?
We look at Latin America. So we started with Brazil, then we recently opened Chile, and we're looking at other markets in Latin America. But the one big market that was always out there and looks very beautiful on a map is obviously India. And India is, it's the second largest bus market in the world. So you have to be there. It's 30 billion, which is way bigger than the European and the US market combined. And so it was this obvious opportunity, but there's many companies from Europe that tried their luck in India that had a hard time and failed. And so there were all these anecdotes and people saying it's a great market, but be careful. And so we really made sure that we made our homework and knew what we were getting into when we went to India.
So India journey begins.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we are going to Delhi. Now we are in New Delhi. We started our FlixBus journey from Nuremberg, now Nuremberg to New Delhi. So Max, what was your India plan?
The India plan is huge. So we want to be the bus brand in India. So we want people to say, I take a FlixBus and not I take a bus. But of course you have to get started somewhere. We got started in February in Delhi. And this was quite exciting. It was, everything you could imagine. We had a good event lined up. We wanted to do this as part of the trade fair and announce that we're going to be there. And we had an outside venue. Of course, the night before it just started raining and everything was wet. And then last minute, everything came together. And it was really amazing when 2 hours before the event, Andre and I arrived there, and there was still people, piecing together things and doing the final fixes. But then it went great. It was a good event, and and I love that spirit that it's a lot of hustling on the kind of last minutes, but then everything came together and was good. And it was an amazing start. It's you have to really relearn how to do business in India, because it's the cities are very crowded. Everything is a little bit more last minute, and a lot more you talk to people. And so for us it was a big change, and we had to learn it, but it was exciting. And it was there was no big issue that we faced, but a million small issues. And this is what I love about the team, and also about the kind of the way people do business, that like people just get things done, like maybe not in a kind of in a straight line way, but like in the end it always works, and I think that's super inspiring and exciting.
And when you have a journey from Nuremberg to New Delhi within a span of 11 years, approximately, what when you or Andre was in together, when just what was your Andre and you have initial thought, initial experience, or what was a trigger you? Do you feel that what a journey and what a country you are through bus? It's a journey.
Yeah, I mean it comes back to seeing your first green bus in a country like India. It's just crazy. I mean it makes you so proud that you basically made it from Nuremberg to New Delhi. I mean it's crazy, and and seeing then, I mean it's always kind of seeing this green bus against different backdrops, and in New Delhi all of a sudden seeing your first real green bus. I mean it's always amazing, and something that we could have never dreamt of 10 years ago.
And what was now you have already stepped into India. So what would be your approach to coming, say, example, another 2-3 years? What was your plan? Because you have, as a German company, always a vision, and you are going to sustainable way. And India is also going to be leader of our government policies, and our every Indians wants to believe to make sustainability or appreciable. What was your plan to? What would be your step-by-step approach to India? Expansion routes, or more sustainability way, or what was your now your vision and also execution of your plans?
Yeah, I mean, in India, you feel when you come to Delhi, for example, you see the pollution, you see the high traffic volumes, and the bus can play a huge role in actually helping fix those problems. So what we want to do is we want to grow the network further. We started in February in Delhi. We recently also launched around Bangalore, so basically routes from Bangalore in all directions. We want to take this to Mumbai and then the rest of India as well. I mean, there's so many cities in India, and you can connect them. And what we want to bring is really a nationwide brand and a certain delivery on a quality promise. We want to make sure that when somebody takes a FlixBus, they know exactly how to find the bus, they know exactly what to expect, and we want to really deliver on this quality promise every single time. And I think that's very important, because the bus market in India is huge, but I think it could be even bigger, because taking a long distance bus is a great way of getting around. It's comfortable, it's safe. So I think we really want to kind of show to the people that we can do this. And once we're kind of more established, then you of course can pivot to EV. I mean, EV in India is the future. I think there's a lot of great momentum around EV. And once you know what your routes are, then you can set up the charging infrastructure, and you can build this ecosystem. And there's so much innovation and so much, I mean, great entrepreneurship going on in India right now when it comes to EV, that this is, for me personally, I would bet a lot of money that India is going to be the first one that has a major breakthrough in actually making EV work on a larger scale and not just on a pilot scale.
And India is, I'm talking about a little bit a visionary way about India. You have brought your whole story from startups, school days, to what FlixBus today. Do you have any plan to encourage Indian startups on tech, because you're a tech company? So you have something to have a collaborate. Indian startup is also very tech savvy. They have a lot of innovation. You can also nudge something that any idea to support that you are talking about the innovation ecosystem in India. Do you have any plan to execute this kind of ecosystem to put Indian tech startup to be or a sustainability to collaborate with your company?
I mean, it's a big space, and we're just getting started. And I think particularly on the EV space, there's so much more you can do, and we're very open. We're looking for partners. So there's many things that we won't do in-house, but where we want to have partnerships. And when it comes to, I mean, the buses themselves, when it comes to charging infrastructure, being smart about it, when it comes to battery or even battery swapping, there's, I mean, we're just getting started, and I can only encourage everybody to look at that space, and look at that space specifically in India, because I don't see that kind of momentum anywhere else in the world. So if I wouldn't be happy at Flix, like this would be what I would be doing, because there's just so many opportunities out there. And we as Flix, we're always looking for strong
push
partners.
The boundaries.
Yeah, we push the boundaries, but we're also looking for very strong partners in that space that we can work together with.
You recently have signed a memorandum of understanding with the government of Rajasthan.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate what kind of cooperation with the government? Maybe the first state you have a corporations.
Yeah.
So what kind of cooperation you look at on that, and how you think positive of this cooperation leads you on different scale?
Yeah, no, I think that's been amazing. I mean, ultimately, we had a long meeting, and it was a very open and friendly discussion. And I was extremely surprised. Like, this was we scheduled the meeting for half an hour and kept talking for a lot longer, which was great, because there was genuine interest on both sides. And ultimately, what we signed is basically that we get support in setting up our structure in Rajasthan, but that in return we also invest, that we work together with local companies, which is always our business model, and that we also provide infrastructure and transportation to Rajasthan to connect it better. I mean, we have the big cities, but then also connecting more smaller cities and making sure that people of Rajasthan have a benefit of having good transportation services.
Yeah, I think New Delhi, Rajasthan, the roads are fantastic. Yeah. And also a lot of Rajasthan's tourist spots too. So that's I think it's quite a good opportunity to work on it. Yeah. You think about FlixBus, also one side is the commercial journeys. Also, did you think about India as a very growing very fast, the road networks? Yeah. What we used to 10 years before, now are faster. A lot of corridors are coming up. And a lot of one side is the business travelers who are also choosing bus, normal passengers, also tourists. Yeah. Indian, if you calculate Indian bus tourists transporting by bus is a large quantity. This also, can you have an idea? Do you have any focus on the transporting the tourist to your FlixBus in Indian your route map?
Yeah, I mean, of course, for us, as we're now a global brand, and we have a lot of customers from Europe, but also from the US. And once they travel, and they just know kind of if there's a FlixBus, they can take it because they know what to expect. So it gives them this notion of safety, that they know if it's a FlixBus, kind of it's going to be well run and safe.
Max, so what was your current route you operate in FlixBus in India?
Well, we're just getting started. So we have 29 routes today, and this is mainly around Delhi and Bangalore. But of course, that's growing significantly. We have big ambitions, and already next year, the network is going to be significantly bigger. And
another new initiative, you have taken the Flex Train.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what about this project. It's again a startup, train startup.
Yeah, it's a big startup, and also has tremendous potential. This is focused on Germany for now. We're looking for other markets, but this is
this is bus to train.
Yeah. So it takes, like, everything takes longer. You can't just buy a train and drive it. No, it's super exciting, and I think the potential is enormous. And train is a great way of getting around as well, particularly here in Germany. There's still not enough trains, and it's a great market for us to venture into.
And when the Flix Air will come?
That won't happen. No, it's not.
So you already on the ground. You always want to keep our feet on the ground.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It doesn't fit our sustainability vision. So we try to move people into trains and buses, and there won't be Flix Air.
So what's Flix? How Flix can contribute to the world of sustainability issues?
I mean, it's it's an ecosystem that has to come together. People need to be incentivized to not use a personal car, and mass transportation needs to be available and needs to be convenient to use. And FlixBus plays a big role there, because we can, for the long distance piece, we can create a very dense network, and using a FlixBus is very easy. So it's an important puzzle piece of this mobility ecosystem of the future. And this is already true for diesel buses. As I said, we we use modern diesel buses, so it's already great for the environment. But of course, as we push this to zero emissions, to battery electric vehicles or other alternative drives, that's of course perfect. And then kind of working together with other mobility players, at some point you will have this puzzle where, you know, people can just use sustainable means of transportation and don't use their private car anymore.
And again, back to India. India and Germany has a lot of cooperation on the skill development issues in both the countries. You have a lot of mobility you're talking about. Do you also have a plan to skill development issues, particularly the mobility industry in India, which is a little bit disorganized?
Yeah, I mean, we have a local team, and the local team is ever growing, and I think it's always interesting to work together, because I've been, to be honest, very impressed with the quality of the team in India that we have. I mean, it's a super strong team, and people are entrepreneurial, and people are very, like, they don't accept good, they just want to be even better and better. Like, they're very ambitious. And I also feel that as a German company, we also bring certain ways of doing things. And I always have this vision that ultimately you have a great blend of, you know, the spirit and the energy and the intelligence you have in India, and then kind of bringing this together. I think, you know, we'll go both sides, India and Germany, are going to learn and ultimately be a lot better coming out of this.
So now my next question would be, what next on FlixBus?
That's always an interesting question. We have a couple of markets that we're looking at. So we want to continue the global expansion. When you look at the map of the world, there's still a lot of white spots that we want to also paint green. So I mean, we're not done yet. There's a lot more to come, and we've been successful so far. And I mean, for us, there's no reason why we would stop now. We want to grow a lot more. Actually, we want to grow a lot more in India. I mean, looking at India in itself with 1.4 billion, I mean, we're just getting started. I mean, this is a whole new world in itself, but then also adding new markets to the list.
So Nuremberg to New Delhi, what a journey FlixBus has, your founders and you too. Thank you, Max, for wonderful insight of Nuremberg to New Delhi journey and blue to green too.
Thank you very much.